here with Coach Dustin Hass, head coach at Carthage College in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Going to talk a little bit about him, his career, obviously making the transition to a head coach. He is now going into his third year of the head coach. Third year. And, we'll talk about his extensive background from being a player to becoming a head coach in that transition. So really excited. Thank you for joining us here. I've known you for a good amount of time, man. Before the kids. So it's cool to have you on, and I thank you. So you can talk a little bit about, your background and, who is Coach Dustin Hass.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always fun to connect, to see a familiar face. Like you said, I think we've known each other for 15 years now in a lot of different capacities. But, a little bit about me. I'm the oldest of 5 children. My dad was a high school football coach, so football has kind of been a part of my life since the dad was born. From northern Wisconsin originally. That's where I grew up, played my high school ball, went to Indiana University. Obviously, that's where we met. Played together there for a couple of years. And then I was fortunate enough to become a GA there, a graduate assistant. And that's actually where I met my wife as well. So as a graduate assistant for Indiana. After that, was out of coaching for a year after we got fired, sold medical devices, believe it or not, in Louisville, Kentucky. We had that's when we had Tyler down there. He was born in Bloomington and then lived the first part of his life in Bloomington, then Louisville, Kentucky. Was out of football for 9 months and got a job at the College of Worcester in Worcester, Ohio. Was there for a year, and that's where Tessa was born, our second child.
Nice.
And then I came to Carthage. I've been at Carthage for 7 years. Caleb was born at Carthage, so I've got 3 kids now, 9, 7, and 4. But came as a DB's coach, special teams coordinator. After 2 years, was promoted to defensive coordinator. Did that for 3 years, and then I've been the head coach for the last 2. So, albeit short, but that was the rundown there of
it's good,
journey
man.
so far.
Good, an extensive background, and like you said, I mean, you were essentially born into football.
Yeah,
from your father to yourself.
Yeah, I was a ball boy, a manager until I could play, and then I actually played for my dad, which was interesting in itself. I was a quarterback, and back in the day, my dad was an option guy. So I was a quarterback that ran the triple option, and we fought all the time about throwing the ball more, and he said, "Nah, this is the offense. This is what we're going to do." Stubborn old football coach that he is. And then, my last game of my career, we were down by quite a bit and had to throw the ball a bunch, and we had some good success. And he didn't wait. I just lost the last game of my senior year of high school football. I'm never going to play high school football again. Mm-hmm. And the next day I wake up, he didn't give it any time. He looks me in the face at breakfast and said, "You know what? We probably should have thrown the ball more during your time."
Yeah, I give him credit. A lot of coaches would not admit that.
No, yeah, I think we could have waited a little bit though before, maybe a year or two, let the grieving process go through. But
you're right. Cool, man. Well, that's you mentioned it, man. You obviously have a major background in football. You have a PhD almost in football, and and you played quarterback. Yet you are someone that you really made a name for yourself in the coaching world as a defensive-minded coach. So can you talk about how you being a former quarterback, how that may or may not have helped you, to become a defensive coach?
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, being a quarterback, you kind of have to know everything about the offense instead of just your position. And I had an awesome coach in college. Coach Canada, Matt Canada, he was a phenomenal teacher, and he was great in terms of teaching us the why. It wasn't, "Hey, it was why we're running it." And when he taught, especially passing schemes, was this is the kind of defense we're going to attack. This is what you're going to see. This is why the ball is going to go here. And it allowed me to have just a better grasp of that. And he did it with everything in pass pro and in the the run game, on why we were doing what we were doing. And it allowed me to gather a really good view of why offenses did things. And when I became a GA for Bill Lynch, who's a Hall of Fame coach in Indiana.
Fame, man. Yep.
He said to me, he said, what is your, career goal? What do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a head coach someday. And he said, well, you've got extensive knowledge on the offensive side of the ball. He said, but you really don't know defense, outside of this is cover 4. You don't know why defenses do what they do. He said, so you need to go coach on defense. So he moved me to defense, and that's how I started coaching.
Man. So smart.
Kind of snowballed, yeah. And the combination of those two things of, knowing a little bit of why offenses do what they do, and with Coach Lynch's wisdom there, helped kind of propel me to the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, good, man. So, do you think that a lot of young coaches should kind of take that route in terms of, hey, they may have played on one side of the ball? Do you think they should try to coach on the other side of the ball? Because me coming up as a coach, to be honest, I played offense. I played receiver in college, and I have yet to really leave the offensive side. I don't really want to go to the dark side. So do you think that is something that's beneficial for especially a young coach?
I do. I think it's huge. I think it does a number of things. Most importantly, you're going to learn the why of, the other side of the ball does things.
Mm-hmm.
But really what it does is it gets you out of your comfort zone, and you really grow a ton as a coach, because like any good coach, you're not just going to go in and not give your best effort, so you're going to really dive in and learn, and you grow a ton when you do that.
Awesome. So heading into your third year, how do you think you have matured as a head coach?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one of the things about me is I'm a very quick-tempered person. If I see something,
you're a coach.
Yeah, goes 100, and in a couple of years as a head coach, you realize you kind of have to see more things of a big picture, understand kind of why kids do certain things that they do, whether it's on the field or off the field. Everybody's journey is different, so I've kind of slowed down a little bit and in some of my reactions, and kind of sought to see the why things are happening first, instead of just the overall reaction of it, whether it be on or off the field.
Good. Yeah, it's you're in the CEO's seat, and as a head coach, and I've never been a head coach, but obviously I've worked for them, and I've always respected the head coaches that are able to almost take a step back. They're able to process things first before they react, because as a player and as an assistant coach, to be honest, we're following the head coach. It's a reason why he or she why they are the head coach, why they're in that seat. So you want someone that's calculated. You want someone that is, they think first and they react second. And I think that is what has really helped you personally as a coach. I mean, obviously you mentioned it. You're someone that has matured, and you've really realized, like, you have an entire program. Really in Kenosha, to be honest, you have an entire town that is counting on you to make the right decisions, and represent them in the correct manner. And, you do a great job of that. So I know you have a very long head coaching career. So that's
that was nice.
Yeah, for sure. And, talking about your players, obviously a big part of coaching, especially at the collegiate level, is recruiting. So in terms of recruiting and the type of player that fits, your model, what is your ideal prospect? What traits are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, that's a two-folded question a little bit. The first thing we're going to look for, is your football side of it. Do you have the skills, the overall athleticism, things like, can you change direction? Can you run fast? How does your athleticism translate to the football field? We've all seen guys that are super athletes that just, for whatever reason, aren't great football players. And we've seen guys that are just terrible athletes be awesome football players. So just kind of getting the combination of a guy that's a really good athlete that also, translates it well to the football field. And then after that, we're looking, and this is kind of probably, if you look at it, 30% is the football side of it, and for us, the 70% comes into academically. Can he handle Carthage? Is he a kid that's going to come here for a semester and flunk out, or is he a kid that's going to thrive in our rigorous academic environment and do well? And then is he a good person? Is he going to come here and kind of like you said, is he going to kenosha our football program the right way? Is he going to represent Carthage College the right way? The city of Kenosha the right way? And for us, those things, the academic part of it, the kind of person he is, are a little more important.
I lost 40. All right, yeah. So, you talked about obviously players, and a big thing with college coaching. Probably the most important thing is how you recruit. So, can you talk about what players or what traits you're looking for in players when you're recruiting them?
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit of a kind of two-folded question there. The first thing we're going to look at is his athleticism. Can he change direction? Can he run? And how that athleticism translates into football. We've all seen guys that are great athletes that aren't great football players. And then conversely, we've seen guys that aren't very good athletes that are phenomenal football players. So kind of the combination of what kind of athlete he is versus what he puts on tape. And then, the other part of that, and for us, this is probably a bigger part of it, is, what kind of person he is. Is he a good student? Can he handle Carthage College in terms of the academic rigor? Is he a kid that's going to come and fail out after a semester, or will he thrive, in that kind of academic environment, the challenge that it provides? And then what kind of person is he? Is he a kid that has good character? Is he going to represent Carthage football well, Carthage College, Kenosha well? And if you kind of break it down, it's kind of 70-30. We want to have the good person that is also a good student. That's probably where we put the most weight on it. Ideally, we'd have all of that with, a kid that's 6'3", 250 with 4.4 speed. But yeah, it's kind of a combination of those things, and it's always a challenge to find the guys that fit those. But so far, we've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, you have, and you guys have really, even from my time there, you guys have turned things around, in a positive manner, and I hear Carthage, I hear that name a lot more now in terms of, being a football school, a football program. And, one thing about college sports, and specifically college football, there's a little bit of a myth that, what's done at maybe the D1 level is different than the Division III level. Can you talk about how, maybe that's a myth that is totally not true, and it's something that, whether you're playing Division I, Division II, or Division III, NAIA, like, you're going to be working. It's not a thing where you show up an hour or two a day and you do your part and then you go back to regular life. I mean, you're committed to it. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you remember or not the old. I think it was it Mike Gundy that did the intramurals rant, or was it it was Dan Hawkins at Colorado when he said, "This isn't intramurals, brother."
Yes.
That's kind of what it is at all levels of college football. Like you said, it's an extreme honor to play football, to play any sport, after high school, and it's hard. It's a challenge. We work just as hard as the Division I schools do,
if not harder.
Schools, exactly. We put the same amount of time in. It's our guys are in the weight room at 6 a.m. in the off season, and they're doing all the extra stuff. When we're not around, just like the big boys, if you will, do. So we definitely overcome a few more challenges in terms of facilities and resources and stuff like that. But in terms of sweat equity, our kids put in the same amount.
Yeah. And as coaches, I know that, it's year round. Like obviously it's year round in terms of coaching at all levels, but I'm mainly talking about the recruiting piece. Like it's year round for, for Carthage, for coach like you in terms of, finding the right prospects, finding the prospects that fit your school and, the environment of Kenosha. And, you're digging, like you're flipping every stone you possibly can to find the right players. And, to be frank, you have to do, in my personal opinion, you have to do a lot more because you maybe don't have that name recognition that maybe an Alabama has or Michigan, right? So
Yeah,
you got to find the right guys.
It's true. It's definitely a lot harder to recruit at the Division III level. I tell my wife all the time, it's kind of like, if you're out there in the dating scene, you're kind of always looking for that better looking girl, right? And if that better looking girl comes along and gives you a little attention, chances are good you're going to start dating her, and sometimes at the Division III level, that better looking girl is the Division II school or the 1AA school or the D1 school. And so sometimes you spend a lot of time on a kid, start recruiting him as a junior and all the way through his junior year and the beginning of his senior year. And he does some things that catches the attention of a little higher school. And that's
There you
that's
go.
where he's going to go,
Yeah.
So part of that is definitely a challenge. And so because of that, you do have to, work a little harder and like you said, dig a little deeper and flip all the stones and uncover the guys that are good fits for our program.
Yeah. And, you may get lucky like us two guys with our wives and, I'll shoot your coverage a little bit and you get lucky. So
there's no doubt. That's always the goal, right?
Yeah. So awesome, man. So, obviously there's more to you than just football, right? More to you than just being a coach. I mean, you're a family man. You mentioned it. You have three lovely children. You have a beautiful wife. You have a great family. You are a great family man. And, talk about where you see you and your family, in the next, let's say, 5 years.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a tough question.
Yes.
It's hard to know what I know about some of the rigors of those higher levels and say, oh, the goal for me is to, in 5 years, be a Division I coordinator or anything like that. And one of the things that my dad was huge with me is he always said, be where your feet are. And or bloom where you're planted, or do great in the role you have and the job that you have.
Yes.
And right now we're very happy at Carthage. We love it at Carthage, and 5 years from now, if we're still here at Carthage, our family would be extremely happy. We've met a lot of great people in Kenosha, great people at Carthage. My kids have great school. They've got some great friends, and on the flip side of it, if you said, hey, in 5 years, you're going to be the head coach at Alabama, I think we'd also be very happy. I think things would change and be different. So for us, I think we don't necessarily have a 5-year plan. We're going to say, hey, be great where we're at and see where the good Lord takes us.
Yep. And knowing you, like I know you're someone that, day in and day out, again, you're focused on your job, right? You're focused on that day. You're focused on getting things that you need to get accomplished. You're getting those things done. And you guys, any fans out there, any Carthage fans, any, Kenosha people out there, you heard it here from Coach that he's happy where he is. Family's happy, which is probably the most important. And, the good thing about it is that you're someone that you're from the state of Wisconsin, right? And obviously Kenosha is in Wisconsin. So, you're right at home. So I think it's a great fit for you. And, wherever you are, you'll do a wonderful job. So
I
good.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So let's do this. Tell me something about you that maybe most do not know.
Well, I'm a little bit of a hillbilly. I grew up in northern Wisconsin. I am I'm a big outdoors guy. I love to hunt. I love to fish. You know, we were
Nice.
talking earlier. We took the kids camping last weekend. I love to be out there in the outdoors. You know, so a lot of times when you see football coaches on TV, they're in suits and driving nice cars, and I'm pretty much the opposite.
You'd rather be in your camo gear.
Exactly. Yeah, out in the woods doing that kind of stuff. So I'm a little bit of a hillbilly when it comes down to it.
Good, nice. And I see you got a little bit of the beer, a little bit of the scruff. So
Yeah,
that fits you.
that's just
That's
laziness right
quarantine.
now. That's quarantine laziness. Yeah, 100%.
Totally. All right. Well, let's do this, man. Let's go over to the rapid fire segment. This is where, look, you only have 10 seconds to answer these questions. They're fun questions.
All right.
And first thing that comes to mind, shoot it out, and we'll get a great response from you, I'm sure. And we'll cover a lot of different topics. So are you ready?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So first question, what's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie, it might surprise you, is Hoosiers. It's a basketball movie. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, Mr.
Yeah.
IU. Okay, I got it. Makes sense. What's your favorite sound to hear?
My favorite sound to hear is, and you'll get this soon, is the guttural laughter of my kids. When something just tickles them to death and they just can't stop laughing. It's fun.
That's cool, man. That's cool. What's your favorite type of food?
That's hard. I love all kinds of food. And seafood is probably my favorite type, which is terrible to live in Wisconsin. You don't get it, but if I could choose, I'd eat seafood.
All right. So to piggyback off of that question, what's your favorite place to eat in Kenosha?
Oh, favorite place to eat in Kenosha is definitely Captain Mike's.
Captain Mike's. All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get away from this rapid fire for a little bit. Tell the people more about Captain Mike's, because I try to describe Captain Mike's, but I feel like I never do it justice.
You can't really, because Captain Mike's is it's a hole in the wall. You know, if you walked up to it, you probably wouldn't go in. If you were passing it on the street, if you were hungry, you're definitely not going in. You know, but it's a tiny little hole in the wall place in Kenosha, right off the harbor there, that has awesome burgers, and they're stuffed with all kinds of different things. My favorite's the shopping cart. It's stuffed with portobello mushrooms, Italian sausage, Gouda cheese, and on top of it is some fried onions, and I love it.
Throw the whole shopping cart on there, man.
The whole shopping cart.
Put everything you can find on the shelves, put it in this burger.
No doubt. Love.
All right, cool. Captain Mike's. Cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
10 being the highest?
10 being the highest, yes.
I'm probably about a 7. Although if you ask my wife, she might round it off to a perfect 10.
Yeah, I think my wife would say the same thing. Cool, man. What's your favorite place? Oh, we asked that. Okay, take a pause. Who's better in their prime, Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning?
Oh, Aaron Rodgers, without a doubt.
Wisconsin boy. That makes sense. Who's the better coach, Nick Saban or Coach K? Two different sports. But
Two different sports. There's no doubt. Both phenomenal coaches, but I have to go with Saban. Just for me, the amount of management that goes into football, and for me in basketball, you get that one guy, he can kind of take over and win you a lot of games. You know, where in football you have to have the 22 guys on the same page, and so I'm going with Nick Saban.
Okay. Would you rather be a famous singer or a famous movie star?
Oof. I would go with famous singer.
Can you sing? Can you give us a little sample?
No, I'm terrible. I'm horrible at singing, but
that's why you would rather be that.
Live shows, some live shows and have the crowd into it.
I can see you on stage with some people dancing behind you.
I'm very tone deaf. I can't dance. I can't sing. I'm musically illiterate.
All you can do is coach. And be a father.
Exactly.
If you were not coaching, what would you be doing?
That's a good question. Probably something in sales, I guess, just because the 9 months I spent not coaching, that's what I did. You know, hopefully I never have to answer that question.
No, and you're doing sales in a good way, right? Don't take that the wrong way. You're doing sales in a good way when it comes to coaching and recruiting and, you know, selling your program. So
there's a lot of similarities. There's no doubt.
There you go. There you go. What is something that you are afraid of?
Heights, actually. I am not a huge heights person.
Same.
So I'm, you know, like you go up on the Willis Tower, that's not for me.
No, I will do roller coasters, but I'm not the type to like go too high.
Me too. You know, I've got a love-hate relationship with roller coasters. I'll go up on them, and I love them while they're happening. But you know that big hill you go up to start? I'm terrified during that moment.
That's the tough part, for sure. For sure. Your stomach is in knots, and it's no fun, man.
No doubt.
And you're thinking, why did I do this?
Every time.
Every time. Lastly, what is the most precious possession in your life?
I mean, I'd have to say my family. You know, I could lose a lot of other things and be okay as long as I still had those guys.
Beautiful, man. Good. And that's what makes you, man. So, well, I thank you for your time. I thank you for, you know, getting on the podcast, man. You've been a wonderful guest. Really looking forward to, you know, seeing Carthage this season, seeing you guys win a lot of games. I think Chloe and I, my wife, will get a chance to hopefully come up for a game this season. So looking forward to that. And where can people find out more about you, more about Carthage football? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, you know, you can, depending on your social media platform, you can find a lot of different stuff, you know, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, that kind of stuff. Probably the best place, though, is just going to carthage.edu and going to the athletics tab and clicking on that football link.
Easy enough. There you go. All right. Well, cool, man. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. I wish you the best, and I'm sure we will talk soon, my man.
Well, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
All right. Tell the family I said hello.
Will do. You too.
All right, buddy. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.